Am I the asshole for being upset after getting kicked off a vacation? I, 23F, went on vacation with my boyfriend Logan, 24M, and his dad Rob, 60SM. Rob recently got a payout from legal thing, keeping details vague for privacy, so he asked Logan to road trip with him. Logan is currently unemployed. He and I were best friends for years before we started dating, and I have always been well acquainted with his family. Logan and I have been dating for 4 years, and I've known Rob for 8 years. I asked Logan if I could fly out to meet them at certain point on their road trip. I had a bunch of PTO I hadn't used, so it seemed perfect. We talked to Rob about it, and Rob was happy. He told me that he would pay for everything on the trip, including my food costs, and I insisted on buying my own flights. I flew out to meet them, and it was awkward. They'd been traveling together for 2 weeks already, so I took Rob's annoyance to be because he was sick of traveling. I decided to pay my expenses because Rob seemed annoyed he had to pay for me, but then he got mad at me. My third night there, Rob went to bed and Logan and I went out to explore a little bit. I got into an accident and had to go to the hospital. I broke my shoulder and my jaw. I only had a few more days left on the trip. I talked to the doctors, and they assured me that I would be fine to travel for 3 more days and then fly home. Rob picked Logan and me up from the hospital, and as soon as I got in the car he said I needed to fly home. Logan brought up what the doctors had said, but Rob said it wasn't up for discussion. Logan asked Rob to drop us off somewhere. I think because Logan wanted his dad to calm down before we spoke more. Rob was outwardly very upset, but he agreed to drop us off. When we met up with Rob again for dinner, he started yelling at me in the restaurant. He said something like, "This is my trip, and you're an uninvited guest. It's time you go." Rob made a jab about my parents, and I replied that my parents would never yell at me, especially in a public place. I booked a hotel room for myself and told him I was going to stay, with or without him. Logan didn't say anything other than to bring up again what the doctors had said. I talked to Logan about continuing his trip with his dad, but Logan insisted on staying with me. We continued the vacation for 2 more days and then flew home. Rob cut his trip short and ended up driving back home a couple of days after Logan and I flew out. Rob invited us over for dinner, and I refused to go. Logan is understanding and supports my decision. I told my family about everything that happened, and they are extremely upset by it. They think that Rob kicking me off the trip was horrendous. My parents are upset that Rob would treat me that way. Personally, my feelings are hurt and I feel like Rob took away my autonomy. Logan is very supportive of my need for space, but I still feel bad about it. Am I the asshole? And #X200B. Edit. I'm getting a lot of comments that I invited myself on a father-son trip, so I'd like to add some context. The road trip they planned was supposed to be 2-3 months long, and I was supposed to join them for 6 days. I was not the only friend of the family that was to meet them along the course of their trip. I had previously been invited on a different trip but couldn't go because I didn't have enough PTO, and when this trip came up, I mentioned to Logan how much PTO I had. I also do not feel entitled to be invited on every trip. I'm just saying why I brought up how much PTO I had in the first place. Logan was excited that I could join them and he asked Rob if I could meet up with them. I was not with Logan when he asked specifically because I wanted Rob to feel comfortable saying no. They were going to a location important to my family's heritage, and Rob told me directly that he was very excited to experience seeing it with me. I had no indication that Rob did not want me on the trip. How did you know Rob was happy about you joining the trip? Was it something Logan just said? "Oh, Rob is happy about you joining." Or did he say, "I'd be happy to have you join us. This is my trip, and you're an uninvited guest. It's time you go." I feel like this explains pretty succinctly why he was upset. You invited yourself on the trip and basically completely derailed the trip he had planned with his son. I don't want to call you an asshole, but I also don't really understand what you don't understand about the situation. I feel like Rob took away my autonomy. What? How? By telling you to leave? Wait. You broke your jaw, and a little while later you're going out to dinner? I thought breaking your jaw was a big deal. Wait. You broke your jaw, and a little while later you're going out to dinner? I thought breaking your jaw was a big deal. Not the asshole. Did he really kick you off of the vacation because you got injured? Or am I horribly misreading this? Am I the asshole for telling my mother I won't be coming home often anymore? I, 19F. Lived with my mother, 50F, full-time before I moved out for college in another state. I moved pretty far and the only way to get home is on a flight. My mom is a single mom who works as a nurse, so I know she can't always afford flights. I got a job to try to balance that cost for her so she wasn't carrying the weight of it all. This situation started months ago. Whenever I lived at home I carried most of the weight with cleaning. I go to a rigorous college and most of the time whenever I come home I'm super exhausted. My mother has a habit of falling off on cleaning whenever I'm not around and that got worse with college. I would often come home and there would be nothing cleaned, no groceries, and she didn't seem to care. For example, whenever I came home for Christmas she complained about how much money she would end up having to spend on groceries and told us we would just have to figure something else out. I didn't have a job at the time so it was me and my sister trying to figure out getting food. On top of that, I'd helped her buy a house before we left for college and when I got home nothing was unpacked and I basically spent the whole break unpacking my room. I know my mom works hard, but I expected at the minimum that she would try to set up my room and make it more comfortable for us. She also makes lots of rude comments whenever I come home. I went home this past weekend and she made comments about my weight, my finances, and asked questions about my fake ID. On the ride to the airport, I told her that I didn't really think that I would be coming home often. I didn't enjoy feeling like I was on the defense the entire time and I didn't like being a maid. I already do so much work at school I just want to relax and be able to kick up my feet whenever I come home and I feel like she doesn't understand that. She did not take this lightly and began yelling at me. She called me ungrateful and told me that so many other kids would beg to have moms like mine. I tried to rebut her saying that just because other kids would want to live in these conditions doesn't mean that they're good. She didn't take that well and just shut down for the rest of the car ride. I explained that this wasn't something that came out of left field. I've been telling her for a while that I didn't like how she spoke to me and that I didn't like the conditions whenever I came home and I'd love to find a middle ground to try to fix it. She didn't make any effort to try to help me on that so I'm just deciding not to be around as much anymore. My sister called me that night and told me that I made the right decision, but other family members have reached out to me and called me an asshole saying that I need to be more respectful of my mother and all the work that she does. I'm kind of torn on this because I know I did what was best for me but I also didn't really want to hurt my mother's feelings. So AITA? Edit. There seems to be some confusion about who pays for school. I am on a full ride through Questbridge, and I pay for all of my personal expenses. She does not contribute financially. I'm going with not the asshole. I'm one of 3, now grown, kids raised by a single mother who was also a nurse. While we all had our chores to do, Mom never let the kitchen go empty or slacked off on housework once we were all grown and on our own. Respect is earned, not automatically granted based on age. Relationship. Not the asshole. She doesn't seem to make any effort when you come home, then gets angry when you say you won't come home as often. If she really wants you there, she'll think about what you said. She needs to understand that shouting at you and complaining about you to other people will not improve the situation or your relationship with her. Info. Fake ID. Info. How did you help her buy the house? Not the asshole. And the family members complaining to you are doing so because now they have to deal with her more, and her whining. Am I the asshole for stealing a baby name from my stepmother and father? My mother was a very artistic person. She dedicated her life to her art. She was a painter and rather eccentric. She had the idea of having 4 children, and naming us in order to spell out LOVE, with our first initials. She passed unexpectedly last year, leaving me and my 2 siblings. She never got to complete the word love. When I was younger I asked her, "What happens if you get too old and can't have a baby anymore?" Or something along those lines, and she told me that one of us could have a baby and finish it for her. She said it wouldn't be the same, but the tribute would make me happy. My parents had marital problems up till her death because of my father's infidelity, and I think she put off having the 4th child for quite some time because of it. However, she always said baby Elise or Emilio would be completing our family soon. I was around 6-7 months pregnant when my father and his wife, and former mistress, announced their pregnancy. She chimed in saying she would finally bring little Emilio into our family. My sister and I were horrified, and spoke to my dad privately that, while Mom did want someone to continue on the acronym idea, we found it disrespectful to do it with the woman he was cheating on her with. I then told him about how she said she wanted one of us to carry on the name when I was a child. He shut me down saying that she probably expected her and I to still be together, and that it'll be better with all of you guys in the same generation of the family. And left it at that. My brother agreed. 2 weeks before I gave birth, they found out they were not having a boy as they hoped, but a girl. I realized I could take the name Elise before they would have a chance to name their baby my mother's chosen name. They could name her Emily, or something else, but it wouldn't be the name my mother chose, and that's what mattered to me. So I did. My father, and especially my stepmother, are furious at me for ruining my mother's lasting wishes and tarnishing her idea. While my sister agrees with me, she won't say it to my dad since the birth. My aunt and other family on my dad's side called me names from petty and troublemaking to just outright a bitch. I did not expect so much backlash, and it's really stressing me out with just giving birth, and they're taunting me by posting pictures of their ultrasounds with captions like, "The e-baby is coming 2024," and "3's a crowd but 4 is love." It's driving me crazy, and it feels like this rift in the family is all for nothing since they're going to claim their baby as the real e-baby anyways. I forgot to add this in, but my stepmom actually approached me and asked me for permission, and politely asked me to change my mind on the baby name once she caught wind that I was already planning on naming the baby Elise. This is part of why I think I can be Ta. I never actually officially announced the name first. I felt like it would be more special naming the baby when they arrive, not before. Not the asshole, that's so gross that your stepmom is trying to replace your mom so explicitly. Not the asshole, your dad has no right to honor a woman he cheated on. If anything, he's insulting her memory by finishing her idea with the person he cheated on her with. To hell with him, his mistress, and anyone who sided with them. Not the asshole. No such thing as an ownership of names. Not the asshole. Absolutely not Ta. Your dad and stepmom are hypocrites. They're the ones tarnishing her idea and disrespecting her memory. She specifically wanted you to carry on the tradition, not a homewrecker and a cheating a-hole. This makes me physically nauseous for you. Not the asshole. Have pictures done of you, your siblings, and Elise with love on it. At the end of the day, your kid, you get to pick the name. Am I the asshole for calling my friend an alcoholic and letting her secret out in front of her fiancé? I apologize for any mistakes. English is my second language. Oh, and I'm using fake names, which is something I've seen people do here. So that I can explain with more clarity. My friend Emma, 26F, and I, 26F, have been friends since the first year of uni. We used to be closer, but she is still a good friend. Emma and her fiancé recently kept a small dinner at her place to start planning stuff for the wedding. Just a few family members and my husband, Jason, and I. Dinner was nice up until Emma started getting tipsy. The thing about Emma is that she loves to drink. Even in uni, her thing was going to pubs or clubs and just having fun like that. I'm the total opposite, and I hate drinking and clubbing. This never bothered me much because I don't have anything against what she does, and why should I? It's perfectly normal. The problem comes when Emma disagrees with how I live. I got together with my husband quite young, which Emma thinks is boring because I should have explored more. Emma thinks me not drinking is like a crime because she needs someone to drink with. Basically, a lot of our convos consist of her trying to get me to be a party animal. Tom didn't like it in the beginning that Emma used to get drunk at least twice a week or even smoke. He was about to end things because of this when they were only dating for a few months, but then Emma swore that she'd only drink socially, quit smoking and the clubbing stuff, and that she never liked doing that much anyways. The truth is, though, she still does drink. When we have our girls' night, she drinks a lot but gets home late enough so Tom won't understand. She smokes at work, and when she tells him she's with me for dinner, she's actually with her other friends at pubs. But her habit of forcing me to try drinking and smoking was annoying me a lot recently. Just because I feel like for a long time I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. But the amount she was doing that increased, and I just felt so forced to be someone I'm not. I just didn't like that. I had respect her lifestyle, but she didn't respect mine. I'll admit, it already had a bad day, so maybe I overreacted. Why I think I'm the But when she kept forcing me to drink over that day, despite me saying no, especially when she literally held the glass to my mouth, I snapped. I told her that I don't want to end up an alcoholic like her, sneaking drinks and lying to Tom about doing so. I also told her something about being disrespectful. Tom was just stunned and just asked us to leave. The next day Tom texted Jason saying Emma had told him everything and that he's taking a break from her. Emma and her friends texted me a lot, blaming me and just insulting me. At first I didn't feel like I did something wrong, especially with Jason supporting me, But since yesterday I have started doubting myself. IDK I'm confused. Too long did not read. Friend was forcing me to drink, so I snapped and told her I don't want be an alcoholic like her who lies to her boyfriend in front of said BF. Info. Why are you friends with her? Not the asshole. Holding a glass to your lips? That's ridiculous. Girl has been a total ass and she finally pushed you too far. Everyone sucks here. Not a popular verdict, I imagine. There was a better way to approach the situation and I think you acknowledge that also. I'll admit, it already had a bad day, so maybe I overreacted. And #X200B. On the other hand, your friend's actions aren't exactly angelic either. Their fiancé or ex now I guess deserved to know the truth. Just maybe in a different way. I truly believe you're not the asshole. Was it a low blow? Most likely. Was the low blow made when you were having a bad day and sick of constantly being badgered? Yes. I'd have properly acted the same way. We can only be pushed so far before we crack. Honestly, she's not your friend. And she was lying to her fiancé about it for a while. She needs help, but that's up to her.